Hey everybody. Hi everybody, hold that thought. Nice thought. Oh, wow. Don't know if you're watching this live. If you are, I just put it out. It's well and truly time for another story time. Yes, indeed. Let's just move this over there like that. So if this is the first video you've come on to, then this is chapter 5 of me reading the magnificent, wonderful book, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. And for everybody that's been listening to the previous chapters, I really appreciate your comments. And sorry, this one's taken a little longer than I would like, but I've been doing a lot of things and launched a series of dialogues around what it means to be human. And I explored in with Shelley Sageheart some, big questions around where we are in humanity, which is associated to this book as well in terms of, are we really in this revolution, this revolution as we evolve into a new way of being? And this book is really part of that. So the dialogues continue. It's quite interesting. How do I feel in this moment? So I was setting up to read this with the thoughts of, I haven't read for a long time and, I need to continue doing what I'm doing and etc. And then, so much going on in my day in terms of, let me give you a quick example before we dive in, because it's very interesting. It's great in terms of this book as well, because, you have messages coming from different places all the time, and you read different things, and people can put that information into a way that sounds really good, and you have to tune in with yourself to really check in with what feels real for you. And we're alive where just awareness has unfolded and opened up so much of, well, I say opened up so much, but also brought up so much contradiction and paradox of who we may or may not be. And at the core of that, everybody's seeking something, seeking love, seeking recognition, seeking peace, wanting to change things, wanting their opinion to be the way that life is, and wanting maybe their perspective or view or just perspective and view of the way that life should be, and that you have to keep coming back to your own space to check in. And so, I had a message from one person today that, found a dead person in the road, almost dead, where their arm was cut off and there was blood and people were just driving past, and she stopped and helped that person. And then another message similar to that was, Preston was in New York City, and a woman got run over by a cab, and he wrote a message around how, you know, death is right by us, and that be thankful for all the people that you love, and if you haven't spoken to them, go and speak to them. And then the paradox of, you know, paradoxically alongside that, life's birthing and there's a baby being born next to it, and you know, we're just constantly in this dance of life, of richness, of beauty, of everything all at once. And this can be really overwhelming, because then you look out in the world and you can't help but go, you know, judge certain parts of life and go, wow, if that wasn't there, life would be so different. Or if we didn't have this, you know, life would be so different. Or why have we got these institutions in place and these structures in place? And if they weren't there, life would be so different. And it seems sometimes I question, and I say, you know, is our quest here on earth just to come down here, whatever that means, be born from the planet, and then have to dance and dissect and then try to somehow, you know, rectify all of the maybe imbalances of what our ancestors and those before us have created, but not from a place of that they're wrong, but just, you know, what's happening. And then alongside that, you've got GMOs and all of the conspiracy theories around, you know, chemtrails and dumbing down the species and wiping out the species because there's too many. And then a friend who's probably watching today, Laura, sends me a message about blood diamonds and, you know, how people get caught up in the spiritual world of then, you know, selling everything and making a money from love, and putting a diamond on your ring, on your finger, knowing that all the diamonds, the majority of them are just blood diamonds, and kids are getting killed every day just so we can have a diamond in the West on our finger to represent some bond of love. And then alongside that, you have people talking about marketing and ways to market yourself and get yourself out in the world and be a success and strive forward in life and make a difference in the West. And then you might listen to Terence McKenna, that is dead now, but talked about we're just in a journey into extinction. You know, we're already in extinction. It just hasn't caught up with everybody yet. And that, you know, our species is dying out. And you might listen to Prince EA talk about being sorry for the deforestation and all the abuse that humans have done unconsciously, ignorantly, or whatever. And then you might listen to an online course that Charles Eisenstein just done called The Space Between Stories. And you might personally find yourself in between stories of life, knowing that our society and governments are well and truly corrupt and don't really do what they say they're going to do. And monetary system is just a joke and imbalanced, and all this striving for war and all this stuff feels like so stupid and mad. And if you live in Malta, you might be aware of the bird hunting and killing birds for the sake of killing birds, and the wars going on with people upholding their beliefs. And you don't see much idea of unity or coming together. And then paradoxically, you've got so many people out in the world striving in their little ways. And this brings me to reading something here. It's like somebody said here, yeah, look at this, look. Throughout the book, Charles Eisenstein relates real life stories that show how small individual acts of courage, kindness, and self-trust change our culture's guiding narrative of separation, which he explains has generated the present planetary crisis. He brings to conscious awareness a deep wisdom we all innately know. Until we get ourselves in order, any action we take, no matter how good our intentions, will ultimately be wrong-headed or wrong-hearted. Eisenstein invites us to embrace a radically different understanding of cause and effect, sounding a clarion call to surrender our old world view so that we can finally create the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Wonderful. And I just want to speak to the person that sent me a lovely message. If you're watching this one, I thought I had a new microphone that was suitable for my PC, but it's not. So I've plugged in a different mic today, and I hope that the quality is better, but there's no telling if it will be. So Yeah. Okay. So chapter 5 of this book reading of The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. Charles Eisenstein, if you know him, was also not saying he has the answer. What Charles Eisenstein is saying and inviting is that we all look closely at where we are in humanity and maybe see what stories can birth out of the confusion, that can birth out of the space between stories. And that's a good place to be. That's where you and I and everybody else are in evolution. So it's a great place to be. It's not about focusing on the bad things, and it's about just seeing where you are as an individual and what your contribution to evolution really is, if any. Because so many people are not able to ponder this. So many people are caught in their own stories. And so many people have diseases or challenges that won't enable them to be able to read a book or contemplate evolution or consciousness or conscious awareness or truth or any of that jazz, you know what I mean? So before I begin, I'm feeling kind of crazy today. You might feel that in my energy. Crazy in a nice way. Coconut water. A friend of mine sells that here. It's not marketing me. I'm not getting paid anything for marketing it. Or am I? Am I? So if you just come for the book reading, sometimes I do a little introduction, as you've just seen. And if you come back, you can always fast forward straight to this part. Here we go. Chapter 5. Insanity. Let us begin. Please, wherever you are, make yourself comfortable. Maybe close your eyes. Maybe take a moment to listen to the chimes. Take a few nice deep breaths. Let's breathe together, even if you're on replay. When you breathe, it just brings all of everything I just shared all just into this space. I became insane with long intervals of horrible insanity. Edgar Allan Poe. Contrary to the doctrine of the cynic, the story of interbeing is, as we shall see, not actually less rational or evidence-based than the story of separation. We like to think that we base our beliefs on evidence, but far more often we arrange the evidence to fit our beliefs. Oh, how so true is that? Distorting or excluding what won't fit, seeking out evidence that will, surrounded ourselves with others who share them. When these beliefs immerse us as part of a story of the people, and when financial self-interest and social acceptance are tied to them, it is all the more difficult to accept anything radically different. That is why to live in the new story can be at times arduous and lonely. In particular, the money system is not aligned with the story of interbeing, enforcing instead competition, scarcity, alienation from nature, dissolution of community, and the endless non-reciprocal exploitation of the planet. If your life's work does not contribute to the conversion of nature into products and relationships into services, you may often find that there isn't much money to be made doing it. There are exceptions, glitches in the system, as well as the halting attempts by the benevolent people and organizations to use some of their money in the spirit of the gift. But by and large, money as it is today is not aligned with the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. It's just how it is. By the same token, neither are our systems of social status, education, or the dominant narratives presented in the media immersed in what some call consensus reality. One's very sanity comes into question for believing the principles of interbeing. We are permitted to entertain them as a kind of spiritual philosophy, but when we start making choices from them, when we start living them even 10%, people begin to question our sanity. We may even question our own. I know I have many times. Alongside the self-doubt comes a profound feeling of alienation. Just this morning, I heard 10 seconds of a news segment on immigration reform. An image sprang to mind of a vast apparatus of fences, checkpoints, ID cards, paperwork, interviews, borders, security zones, and official status. And I thought, wait a minute, isn't it obvious that Earth belongs to everyone and to no one, and that there should be no borders whatsoever? Isn't it hypocritical to make life unlivable somewhere through economic and political policies, and then to prevent people from leaving that place? The two sides of the debate don't even mention that viewpoint. So far outside the bounds of respectable thought, it lies. The same is true of practically every issue of public controversy. Isn't it insane to think that I am right and everyone else is wrong? Ponder moment. In a way, it is insane, insofar as sanity is a socially constructed category that serves the maintenance of dominant narratives and power structures. If so, it is time to be insane together. It is time to violate consensus reality. Human beings are social animals, and it's unrealistic and perilous to carry an alternative story on one's own. Let us pause for a moment of humility here. A number of years ago, I came to be acquainted with a man who I'd call Frank. Hello, Frank. Frank was highly intellectual, with more than cursory knowledge of several scientific fields, but his life work, on which he spent 8 to 10 hours a day, was to cut out words from product packaging and magazines. From these clues, he teased out a vast, all-encompassing conspiracy theory. He believed that by rearranging the words with scissors and glue, he could disrupt the conspiracy and change reality on the behalf of all beings. He brought the most fascinating connections to light. A cereal box might have General Mills on the front. Mills contains MIL, M-I-L, short for military. And look, the text on the back of the box has sentences of 19 and 13 words respectively. That comes to 1913, the year the Federal Reserve was established. Aha, light bulb moment. The pattern begins to emerge. This example barely hints at the labyrinth complexity of Frank's theories, which tied together packaging, logos, numerology, and more. Everybody thought Frank was deranged, but I seriously considered, how am I different from him? It seems like a trivial question, but I found it fruitful. Both of us uphold an explanation for the workings of the world that seriously violates consensus reality. Both of us are rearranging words drawn from existing linguistic and conceptual substrate, hoping thereby to alter reality. Both of us are seen by many as deviant, and therefore must persevere indefinitely without much financial support or social affirmation. At the time, Charles was broke and unknown as he is now. Sometimes I titillate my brain with the thought that maybe this guy Frank really is right, that he's the greatest and bravest genius in history, working on a magical symbolic level to save the world. Maybe, if only I took the time to delve into his work, I would see it too. Don't you sometimes wish that your friends and relatives would just take the time to read so-and-so's book? Read this book. Watch such and such a documentary. Open their minds and stop dismissing your worldview out of hand. If only they'd look into it, then they'd get it. I went through that, still do. I'm like, watch this documentary, Cowspiracy. Watch Thrive, watch Home, watch the Shark Waters. I do it all the time. Read Charles Eisenstein's book. I haven't kept in touch with Frank, but I have little doubt that he continues his obscure labors to this day. Most of us don't have that kind of hardihood. We are social animals and need at least a little bit of affirmation. We cannot stay in a deviant story by ourselves, in the face of a whole society that pulls us into the story of separation. We need allies. This book is meant to be such an ally. I hope that it will awaken and reinforce your understanding that you are not crazy after all, and that if anything, it is the world that is gone insane. You might say I'm preaching to the choir. Yes, but as a member of the choir myself, I am grateful for the wonderful preachers whose words have kept me here, kept me believing. Without them, I would have quit long ago and found a job greasing the wheels of the world-devouring machine. That is also why conferences, retreats, and communities for alternative culture are so important. We hold each other in new beliefs. Yes, I see it too. You are not crazy. We, the choir, gather and we learn to sing together. As things fall apart and the old story releases its thralls into the space between stories, the beautiful music of the choir will beckon and they will come to join us in song. We have been doing important work, first in loneliness, then in small marginal groups. The time is upon us for the new story of the people, to leave the incubator, When things fall apart, the hopelessly radical becomes common sense. Ooh. 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 Thank you for watching, listening. I hope you enjoyed chapter 5. Joanna Macy, author of Active Hope, said, "It's rare to find in such digestible portions so rich a feast for mind and heart." Wherever you are in the world, I know there's so much information, and if you've come to watch anything that I'm putting out into the world, then I really appreciate you, appreciate your time. And this is my contribution, just one of my contributions, to not only living, I live the more beautiful world. I've made choices to put myself in this position. And the phone, 1 minute. So, it's been a mad reading today, phones on and all sorts. But yeah, this is I'm all for the new beautiful world. And I know if you're watching this, you are too. And this guy is being persistent. So I'm going to love you and leave you because I don't know how to turn the damn thing off. It's not even on my phone. Wherever you are in the world, shine on. You're a magnificent being. You're a miracle. And together, we are creating a new world. Love. You're amazing.